call the meeting to order and do a roll call. Karen Kravitz, Chair, present.
Scott Hunter present.
Lino Wizzo present.
Steph Charlie Leo present.
Okay. And do we know if Mike Horton is coming?
He's not coming, his wife is still sick.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. All others present?
In case.
Joe Capucci, Fire Marshal.
Sean Rowland, Fire Chief.
Tina O'Connor.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. Okay, I don't hear any public comments. Liaison comments?
So far, so good.
Okay. Chairman's report. I don't have any report this time. Go ahead. Current financial statements?
Okay, so if we go to start at 53510, repair maintenance machine, we knew that line was going to be over. You can see it's over substantially. We asked for $60,000. We have money encumbered still, so even though it shows we're $46,000 over right now, we still have $34,000 encumbered. We had some bills, we have other equipment that needs to go out, so we're trying to do our best to keep that number as low as possible until July 1, so we can try to offset some of the expenses. It was just been a heavy year for expenses like we talked about in previous meetings. And with that being said, we asked for, I don't know, I want to say it was, I think we went up $15,000 last budget. I think they knocked it down to an increase of $5,000 or $10,000 more for next year, which might be okay, might not be okay. We really don't know until we have a year. We've been okay in the last couple years, but before that, we were spending on the average of about $100,000 to $120,000 a year in maintenance.
Can you just, so you think it's 85 or 90 it's going to end up?
Yeah, I was gonna print off the thing, I just didn't have time.
Okay.
I know the Board of Finance met last week and they came up with their budget recommendations, and I know they cut, I think the Board of Selectmen cut $5,000 and the Board of Finance cut another $5,000 off.
Okay.
So I think we asked for 95 if I remember, so I think we're at 85 and our budget was 75 this year.
Okay. So just, can you just take us through, so the budget for this year was 80, we've spent 91, and then we've encumbered an additional 34 that hasn't been spent?
We, looking at this, we spent 91,000 so far. We have 34 encumbered.
That means encumbered but not spent?
Correct.
And
So
then,
that's where the available budget is negative 46,000.
okay. Anybody else have questions about that?
Maybe just, what does encumbered mean? I'm new to the game.
Encumbered means it's pulled for a specific thing, but it's not spent yet.
But not invoiced yet, though.
Correct.
But
But it doesn't mean it's.
it's going to be
Doesn't
invoiced.
mean, right now, that's what we're anticipating, but that number may come down, the encumbered number may come down, that means the available budget number may come down. But we put the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance there, now we're roughly 60, it might be 60,000 over budget, so right now we're at 46, but we had 34 encumbered, so I'm trying to, with the remaining months left until the end of June, I'm hoping we're gonna be under that, if not, try to keep that number down as much as we can from being 60 over.
So basically, just to answer your question, it's something that you're contractually obligated to pay, but it's not due yet, basically.
It's not that some of them are blanket POs, so when we have an issue with a truck, we send it out and we pull from that blanket purchase order. So if we don't need it, or there isn't a repair needed to that piece of truck or that piece of equipment, then what we'll do is come closer to the end of the year, we'll start closing purchase orders out. So when we close out a purchase order, the available budget number, that number is gonna go, let's say if we close it out now, that number may go from 46. And if we don't use 34,000, we're, what, 12,000 over?
Okay. Is that TV or something in that room? I don't know if we
TV
can.
on?
Can we close it?
I just closed the door.
Okay.
Okay.
So going down, Testing, we're gonna keep watching. We just did our fit testing, hydro testing for the air bottles. We have to do a lot of testing, that's hose testing and everything else, so we're gonna be really tight on some of these numbers this year. Other number we're gonna watch is software maintenance. That number is gonna be really tight. And reason being is, we talked about this during operating budget expenses. The town, before, after we submitted our budget last year for this year, the town's insurance company is requiring us to do Sentinel-1 and dual authentication when it comes down to IT work, to protect hacking and cybersecurity and everything else. So we had to do a bunch of upgrades, and there's costs associated with them each year. So when we looked at our budget come next year, our budget, I think, went from 25 to 41,000 to cover all these added expenses that are required by the insurance company. So that being said, this number might not be enough to get us through, but if it's not, it's due to the fact, one of the problems is due to the fact of dual authentication in Sentinel-1.
Is that a one-time cost, or is that gonna go
No,
up?
it's gonna be an ongoing cost. So there was a one-time cost, and then there is a annual cost associated with each one of those things, along with other things that we need to be able to run those.
Do you know what, did we request more money
We
for
did.
next year? Okay.
We did, and you guys approved it.
And do we know where that is in the budget process? Is it gonna,
It went through, it's through there, but when we talk about operating budget for that one line item, we put in a request a week ago. Actually, it was a couple weeks ago, we talked to Tony. Firehouse software is, the reporting software that we use here is going away. It's obsolete, it's going away, and we thought we'd have a little bit more time than we did. We have to make the changeover now, and the added cost to that is roughly $11,000 a year, give or take 11.1, I want to say that number is. That's gonna be an added cost per year, so we requested from the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, that they add back into the operating budget for next year, starting July 1, for the 11.1 on top of the 41 that's requested. That's something we really don't have a choice, we have to do.
so it's like we're going from 25 to 52-ish?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like everything is obsolete this year,
So
end of life, I'm getting all
with
these
talking
emails,
about
end
that,
of
we're
life.
going over to First Due. It's the reporting software that is cloud-based. So they handle the maintenance, they hold everything, so we're not holding it in-house. So there is an added expense, but that 11,000 is gonna continue for years to come. So it's not like some of these numbers are one-time fees and then they go away. These are just gonna become ongoing costs.
Yeah. Anybody have questions about that?
A lot of our stuff, even if you go to the security line item, where it is comp security for 3,800, it's 54260. Just so we're on the same page, it shows a $684 overage. But I think everybody needs to realize this is one of these line items that is just not the fire department. So that line mostly consists of our S2 system, our card access system. But so when the building was built back in 2008, the card access system was brand new here, S2, and we actually have the brain of the system over here. So since 2008 moving forward, not only do we control this building or we maintain this building, we also maintain, I believe it's the library, the center building, town hall, public works, and the old firehouse. So that number has we've consistently added to the card access system, which is okay, it can handle it, no problem. But with that, there's other maintenance fees that go up along with it each year. And the more readers you have on, obviously, the more it costs, and the more maintenance there is. So even though we're over $684 at this point, and we're probably gonna go up probably to $2,000 this year, that's really not a fair number to blame the fire department on, because it is a shared cost throughout everywhere, even though we're paying for it out of our budget because we own the brain of it.
Yeah.
Professional development training, 54630, that number we're gonna be tight on. We have 30,000 for training, we requested 35, they knocked us back down to 30. We have 10,000 left, but we do have some other required training that we are gonna be having to do before July 1. So, everything, especially, everything has gone, and I think everybody needs to realize, everything has gone up in any really business that you're in right now, because of supply and demand and because of inflation and everything else. The fire service is just, inflation, let's say, is going up 7% or 8%. Everything in the fire service is up 10, 12% easily, and you're at their begging mercy, because I can't go to Home Depot and buy an axe. I need to buy an axe rated for the fire service. So you could go buy an axe for $25 or $30. A fire department axe is roughly $150, to put it in perspective. A ladder, I can't go to Home Depot and buy the best ladder they have, say for $400. Our ladders are a few $1,000s a piece, and they're rated for flame and everything else. So it's not something we can just go and try to save money and do that way. We have to follow NFPA, OSHA, NIOSH, and everything else.
Anybody have any other questions on the operating budget?
The other thing to look at is gonna be hydrants. Hydrants, I'm hoping, since it was a mild winter, we'll be okay, but we might be close on that, even though we show a $4,200 surplus. It may not be, because our next bill for hydrants is due in July. Even though our budget ends in June, they usually bill 6 months behind, so January, February, March, April, May, and June are due in July. So that money will get totally exhausted in that area.
Okay, so it's basically $100,000 a year, and you pay it twice a year.
We pay it twice a year, and then out of that money, we also have to pay for any maintenance that needs to happen. So if somebody breaks a hydrant or somebody hits a hydrant and they take off, we're responsible for paying that bill. So a hydrant repair ranges anywhere between $500 and $600 all the way up to $7,000 or $8,000 a hydrant. So if somebody hits it, takes off, and they have to dig the road up and fix it all the way down the bottom, you're probably looking at a $6,000 repair, $7,000 repair, where if they just snap the hydrant off at the top, we're probably looking at a $600, $700, $800 repair. But if somebody does hit it, we go after their insurance company pays it. Usually it's bad in the winter time because a plow, either a plow would hit it, or a payloader, depending on if we got a lot of snow. So it's been a mild winter, so we've been lucky in that end of it.
Very good.
And hydrants are going up again next year, minimum probably 7.5%, if not up to 12%. We budgeted for this year's budget, so everybody knows, at 7.5% increase. So if it goes up to 10, we don't have enough money to cover that.
How many hydrants do we have in town? I
About
know not the whole
138.
town. Oh, okay.
So about 10% of the town has hydrants.
Yeah.
The other 90, we're trucking water in, that's why we have big trucks.
Okay, fire chief's report.
Okay, so, good thing is we have 12 juniors in our junior program right now. And we might actually have one more joining tonight, so that would be 13. So that's actually really good for the department. Anthony and Sean Redmond have done a great job program is growing, and basically it's the future of the fire department, keep the volunteer fire department going, so.
Can you tell us what like what ages can be juniors?
So you can join at 14, you can't get on a truck until you're 16, and then at that, there's limitations on what they can do from 16 to 18, and then once they turn 18, they have to come off the junior program, and they can enroll in the fire department, but they cannot stay on the junior program once they turn 18 years old. They automatically come off.
Okay, and do you do training with them?
They do, so once a week usually, it's usually Monday nights, and they're here tonight. They do training with the kids, they teach them what the equipment is, where it's located. I think they're pulling hose tonight, so they do a bunch of different things with the kids. They can't go over anything over 6 feet, so they can't really climb on top of the truck for insurance purposes, so there's limitations of what they can and can't do.
Got it.
So that program's working really well. We talked about some of the stuff that was cut out of our operating budget, which I got word last week was they cut $2,000 in tires, even though we increased tires. Tires, we don't have a choice with the tire budget. They cut $2,000, but they're gonna have to come up with the money to still spend it, because fire apparatus, emergency apparatus, tires have to be replaced every 7 years. So regardless, even they can look brand new, they look in great shape and this and that. The truck is, when they look at fire apparatuses, it's weighed down, it's got all the water on it, all the equipment on it, 24/7, 365 days a year. Where like a dump truck may be used 8 or 10 hours a day, loaded, it dumps and it sits unloaded, so there's not a lot of weight and constant weight on the tires and pressure on the tires, so the tires have to be replaced every 7 years. And that's a DOT standard. So certain things we really don't have a choice on. The other line that they cut a little bit was gear, which they need to replace, which that line is actually a really good line for the town to pay, because that shows that we're having growth and we're keeping everybody safe. Fire gear has to be replaced every 10 years per standard. So after 10 years, it's got a shelf life of 10 years, because after 10 years, they're saying the fire retardant on the gear is no good anymore. It's not as effective. So the active guys, the gear has to be replaced, and now what used to happen is when the gear got to that age, we would send it down to the junior program, and the juniors would end up using it. Or the new people coming into the department, the probationary members, so they go through Fire One with that gear. But what's happening is you can't give them gear that's already been expired. So we have to buy sets of gear that basically are universal fitting. So when they come off, when people get on probation, they have gear to use to get through Fire One and get through their first year. Once they do that, then we'll outfit them with gear, and the gear guy comes in, they fit them to the coat, the pants, everything, so it fits them just right. So it's not like years ago where you can grab anybody's coat or boots and get on a truck. Those days are long gone.
Do you have any updates on the trucks that are being spec'd, ordered?
Yeah, so the truck, I was actually on the phone with them a few weeks ago. The truck right now is slated, engine 9 is slated to come in sometime in October. We're going out to Minnesota sometime in October to do final inspection on the truck, and then the truck gets shipped here, and then there's equipment that has to go on it, and they have to do like the first maintenance and everything else on it. So we probably won't see that truck in service, if I had to guess, if we're lucky, sometime in November, if not December. So hopefully by the first year, that truck will be in service.
And then do you have another one that's ordered or getting spec'd?
So we have a couple things going on. We are looking, possibly, we're gonna need to replace the aerial truck at some point. The aerial's a 1992 right now, so the truck is over 30 years old. So that's the next one up, and then right after that, we're looking to replace engine 2. Engine 2 right now is 20 years old. So when you read NFPA and everything else, it shows that fire apparatus in a rural town should be replaced after 15 or 20 years. We're holding trucks 20, we're holding trucks 25, 26, 27, 30 years. We can't really get much more out of the truck than what we're getting now. So we're actually doing really good, and that also has to do with our maintenance program, and our engineers do a great job.
Do you want to explain the engineers for?
So engineers, so all the trucks have to be maintained 100%. They get a lube oil filter every year. If something breaks on a fire scene or something goes wrong, they take care of it, figure out what needs to happen. We call a vendor, the truck goes out, gets fixed. If it's something small like a light or something on the truck, the engineers usually take care of it.
But who are they? They're members of the department that are trained?
There are, yes.
And how many?
There are probably 4 of them right now.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How is a truck replaced in the budget?
So the way the truck, usually how it works is we establish a need for it.
Right.
And then the way it should work is more in the capital budget. We submit back in sometime in October, November, for what we think the 6-year capital plan is. And then in that, it shows the truck. But what's happening is, so if we were to, like the truck that we're getting in, let's say December, we take delivery in December, right? Our first pay, we're gonna take delivery in December, but our first payment's not due until the following December. So it's not coming out of this year's capital budget. It's gonna come out of next year's capital budget. So it depends on how it's financed and leased. We usually lease the purchase. But what we do is we determine the need. We go to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, tell them what's going on, this, that, the other thing. We develop a truck, a spec, which usually takes about 6 or 8 months to develop. And then we go out, we do, the last 2 trucks we've done was go to HVAC. It's a Houston Galveston contract. It's like the Connecticut state contract. It's already been negotiated. They've got the best number, and then we basically order off of there. The Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen agrees to it, and then the Board of Finance figures out the rate vehicle, how to fund it. So if we were to purchase an aerial truck right now, an aerial truck is, right now they're estimating between 2 to 3 years out before we get it, even if we order it today. So if we were to order it today, in the budget process, even if the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance approved it, we wouldn't see that truck for until FY, if we're in FY, we're going to go in FY 23 now, 24, 25, 26. We probably won't start paying it until FY 27. So, but they approve it, and they approve, and then every single budget year, when the truck comes up for the payment, we put the payment in, the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance approve it, and then it goes to a town meeting, and the town either approves it or denies it. If they deny it, then it's basically like your car. If you don't pay your car, they come back and repo the truck.
So it's a separate capital
It's a
budget
separate capital
approved through
budget,
the town
other than
meeting.
the operating budget, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else on apparatus?
Engine 7 went out, had an air conditioning issue, so we had that fixed. It also had I believe a boost problem with the truck. That had to get fixed, and there was a coolant leak that got fixed. So I want to say those bills tallied up, I want to say around $5,000. So,
Is that in
That's
this
just
34, or
recently.
is that in the 34?
yeah, we had to pull a purchase order for it.
Okay.
So when you look at the 34, you gotta probably take up the 5, because it probably doesn't hit it yet. Other thing is, the shed is moving forward in the back. It went through inland wetland, it got approved through inland wetland. We are working with Silver Petrocelli at this stage right now. The next steps are to do geo work on it. Basically take the consistency of the soil, find out how deep bedrock is, what's a suitable soil that they can start building off of, and then once we have that, then they'll create a foundation plan and the actual structure, and we can get going on that.
Does anyone have any questions? Because you might get asked about the shed in the coming weeks and months. Anyone have any questions? Everybody understand the high points of the history behind it?
So basically, the old firehouse, they got money to convert over to
Attention all listeners, the success of the radio is on system. Repeating, the success of the radio is on system. WCAM for clear at 8:30.
So basically, they're turning it into a cultural center. They're designing that now and we're designing this at the same time. So once this is built, we can vacate the old firehouse and move over to here. So we're contained in the one central spot rather than using the existing firehouse, which was, when this building was built, the idea was to use the overflow of the existing firehouse. Now they have a use for the existing firehouse. Now they want to build that because to move us out, put us all in one spot so they can repurpose the building across the street.
And that's all coming from a state grant. So the town, right? It's all coming from a state grant?
Yes.
Which state were you, for what?
For the shed and for the old firehouse.
Is that
I don't know how much
community
of it's
investment?
coming off the state grant for back here. There is a portion of it. I don't know what the portion is. And I think there was insurance money left over.
Oh, right, okay.
So I don't know how much of it the grant is covering back there, but the association is putting up $100,000.
Wow.
And then I know across the street, it's all by the grant. I don't know if it's a state grant or a federal grant.
The governor came down with it, so I think it's from the state.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's the community
Yeah.
investment fund, like
Yes.
post-COVID money, like to enhance your community space.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Activity report, do we have an activity?
Yeah, so an activity report, the assistant chief couldn't make it here tonight. So he did leave a report for you guys. If you have questions, I can try to answer them the best I can. So 23, the current month, we had 35 incidents where staff hours of 311.18 hours. His incidents year to date is 59, basically from 1/1 to where we are now, and staff hours reported to date is 565 hours. We've done a lot of motor vehicle accidents this year. We've had 9 motor vehicle accidents, 1 extrication, 3 car fires. We've had quite a few car fires actually up on the Parkway. And if you guys have questions, I'll try to answer them.
Is the Parkway our jurisdiction?
So part of the Parkway is our jurisdiction, part of it is New Haven, part of it is Orange, and part of it's Hampton, so we all share it. So it gets a little confusing on where you are,
Yeah.
so who gets what. But we do quite a few, it's weird. We'll go up there, like a few weeks ago, we were up there 3 times in one weekend, or 4 times in one weekend, and another month we might not go up there, so it varies. But just around town, the motor vehicle accidents seem to have been up.
Okay.
Can I tell you that I got a report from UConn? There was 1,469 accidents in the years 2018 to 2022 on the Merritt Parkway, the entrances and the exits just on our side and through the tunnel. Unbelievable. And that's not counting Litchfield Turnpike and Amity Road. There was another 469 accidents. So I don't know how you are able to handle that.
So you're
There's so
saying
many of
just
them.
like exit 59, entrance?
Exit 59, entrance and exit,
ramp?
the tunnel, yep, and along, right in that area,
Mhm.
right in that area. I have pictures of like every single accident that they showed us.
That's
Um,
crazy.
It is, it really is. I'm sure it's gonna get worse.
I wonder, now that they've finished making the entrance lane longer on 57 or 58, whichever it is there, if they're gonna see a big difference. I'm guessing they will.
We'll hope. They dropped the tunnel project, and they're looking at it again in a different light supposedly. So we've been going to meetings since 2016, I think, and now they're going in a different direction, they said.
Like redesign based on the accidents?
No, they didn't even mention the accidents. I got that from UConn.
Oh, okay.
This is a new engineer there, so we'll see what happens. There's a light fixture came down in the tunnel maybe a couple of months ago. A big light fixture came down in between two cars, thank goodness, and it didn't hit anybody. But they're needing to look at a liner for the tunnels, or increasing the size of the tunnels, but I don't think they're doing anything right now, unfortunately. But it's bad accident spots.
Yeah. Okay, fire marshal's report.
Okay, I was out 35 times, 23 inspections, 5 plan reviews, 2 fire investigations, 1 fire. We had our first lithium-ion battery fire in a house the end of last month. A young lady got off the high school bus and smelled something burning in her home. She was smart enough to go in the kitchen, get the fire extinguisher, and put it out. When we got there, the police officer carried it was a massager, out, but the batteries had shot out, were still burning on the floor when we got there. So it's a problem all over the place. I mean, New York City gets hundreds of them, from your laptop to all the, we have a problem now. There's no way to put out a electric car fire right now. Technology hasn't caught up with the fire department.
Wow.
We don't know how to put these lithium-ion batteries out either.
So it's important to know what he's saying is if you have a battery, if you have, like, your laptop catches fire and say it goes out, if you go to pick it up, the battery can still catch fire or explode.
Right, they're hot, they burn hot, like thousands
So
of
you have
degrees
to be
hot.
careful, and what we have to do is, instead of leaving it on site, what we need to do is, there's a barrel that we would get, and they're expensive. I think the whole kit is right around $5,000. And basically you have to put the laptop into this barrel and leave it there, or take whatever it is and leave it there, because it could catch fire 48 hours later.
Right now, nobody wants them, they don't know what to do with them.
You don't want to leave it in your house either, so if your laptop catches fire, you don't want to leave it in your house, because it could reignite and catch your house on fire.
I would throw it outside and call the fire department.
Is anybody doing any like education, public?
There is, but there's not a good solid way of putting these things out. So, like for a car fire, for an electric car fire, they have something called, it's like a blanket goes over the car, and then you have to keep wetting it down, but there's no proven.
But I
that
mean,
this is
for
gonna work.
people, to know just how to keep themselves safe, basically. Just some basic
You know what they're finding
information.
out a lot
there any
is,
warning?
it's usually a cheap battery charger is the root cause of a lot of these. It is what starts it. And then once the batteries start cooking, you can't stop it. We have no way of stopping it.
What they're actually
Technology hasn't
saying-
caught up to
What
us
they're
yet.
actually saying, like with a car fire, an electric car fire, that you're better off letting them try to burn itself out.
I reached out to
So-
New York City Fire Department hazmat team, and that's what the lieutenant on the hazmat team said. Listen, we did a study here. We let the car burn. In an hour, you're back in the firehouse. If you put it out, you're there for 8-10 hours because the water is just accelerating. So I asked about lithium-ion batteries. He goes, there's no way to put them out. They take them out of the building and put them in a drum. Their sanitation department takes them to Coney Island or something. They leave them there because if they catch fire, there's nothing around them. And that's the problem we're having. Who picks them up if we bring them back here? What do we do with them? We don't want to be stuck with a hazmat bill. So I reached out to Trumbull, and they have Fairfield County Hazmat picks them up at the firehouse. But he doesn't know what they do or if there's a charge. So like I said, technology hasn't caught up to all of this yet. So I think as soon as NASCAR goes electric, we'll have an answer, because everything the fire department has comes out of NASCAR. The jaws of life, NASCAR, because they're $1 million cars, they want their driver back.
Well, see, Formula One has gone electric,
Yeah, see,
but
now,
not NASCAR yet, man.
once they start going electric, there'll be a way for those engineers to put out those fires, but it hasn't caught up to us yet.
But there is
any
other-
warning? Is there any warning ahead of time?
No,
Like
it just happens.
The
We are looking
plugs get
into,
hot or anything, or no?
we are looking into getting an electric vehicle for here to demo it. But it's not as easy as lighting the car on fire. You have to send a short through the battery so it catches the battery on fire.
There's nobody that has an answer right now. I called around. Nobody has an answer.
Rosenbauer makes a unit, it slides underneath the car, but when the car is burning, you have to find what cell is actually burning, and then it's like a tube, it comes up, it punctures it, and it floods it, but you have to be almost right on it.
So if the homeowner, was that, the fire extinguisher works for that?
Yeah, she put it out.
Okay.
And then the police officer carried part of it out, but the batteries were still inside burning, and Lieutenant Redmond's out in the backyard tonight with the juniors. He took the 2 batteries and threw them out the window.
Mhm.
And we left them in the driveway. I mean, what are we gonna do? I can't put them on the fire truck and bring them back here. Now I'm gonna burn up an $800,000 fire engine with the lithium ion batteries. We left them in the driveway and it snowed the next day.
Mhm.
But these are all things what I've been trying to research to find out, what do we do with them?
Mhm.
Okay. Scary.
Okay, don't believe we have any correspondence.
Can I just make one other note under ours? We actually took delivery of a lot of portable radios that we ordered. They came in early, which is great. So we got those. We're waiting for the rest of the shipment to come in. We're hoping, I think it's by April 15th, the rest of it should ship, and then we can get it installed. But the majority of the portable radios for the firefighters came in. We'll probably be putting those in service next Tuesday night.
Good.
So that's good. The air packs are coming in May. The 10 air packs that we ordered, those are coming in May. We have a couple of thermal imaging cameras coming in. Those are coming in May. We ordered, I don't know, December. Everything's long lead times, so we are moving forward. And then the association has this spring fling dance back at the firehouse again, like we did last year. So it's gonna feature the rum runners.
I just want to say it's a ton of fun. If you've never been to a Rum Runners event, they're awesome. And it's just always a really fun night, a great way to support the fire department, so. Do we have meeting minutes?
I sent them to everybody prior.
Oh, okay. All right. I did not review them, so I guess let's pass those till next month. Is everyone okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. And next meeting, April 17th. Does that work for everybody? As far as we know now? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We're adjourned.